IVM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 20 of The Fighting Goats, where me and my partner Arjun Chipalkati, aka Mystic Chips, will break down a great episode for you. We had a wonderful week, Mystic Chips, with UFC 264. Didn't end the way we wanted to, the trilogy, but what a fight week it was. And we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic when trash talk goes wrong. So,
Yes,
Chips,
sir.
let's hit it in. Come on, UFC 264.
I mean, man, it's been a hell of a week, and let's not mention yesterday was the greatest day for sports. There
Right.
was the Copa Mundiale where Argentina took on Brazil. Argentina won.
Wow.
The second one was the Euro final, which Italy won on penalties against England, and I'm very happy because Italy is like a second home for me.
Is like second home for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we had the Wimbledon final where Novak Djokovic has made history with 20 Grand Slam titles and has leveled with Federer and Nadal for the same, and
Right.
has won 6 straight wins at Wimbledon. And of course, we come down to UFC 264.
Man, what a delight for all sports fans. So we had a lot of football. We had some
Yeah,
really
man.
great tennis, and we had a beautiful night of UFC 264.
It was.
Yeah.
And your favorite, and Somesh Kamra's favorite fighter fought also.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, my favorite fighter had walked out on a
Why are
stretcher.
you still so hurt? Why are you still so hurt about the fact that he got a private jet?
Well,
How does it matter, dude? I mean, he spent his own, at least it's not like they flew him down. He spent his own money.
well, he also got a $75,000 bonus
He
yesterday.
got, anybody deserves it, it's Moutinho. Anybody who
Absolutely.
deserves it is Moutinho.
Well, guess who the fighter is? Well, my favorite fighter, of course, in the bantamweight division, Sean O'Malley. But yeah, kicking things straight off, you spoke about so many sporting activities. I
Yeah.
personally am a huge fan of Djokovic because I feel he's young. He is definitely in his prime. He's been in his prime for a very
He's
long
just
time.
32, man.
Do you think he'll overtake the likes of Federer and Nadal? Or do you think he already has?
Now, see, the difference between Federer is 41 and
Right,
Djokovic is
right.
maybe 33, 34.
Wow.
So he has the chance to do that. He has the
Wow.
ability to do that. And Federer has nothing to prove. His skills are already going down and he's beginning to lose. So it's normal. Nadal is still
Right.
there though. Rafael Nadal is still there.
Right.
But they've got their strength in the right areas. Nadal has got his strength in the clay courts. He's a baseline player.
Right.
Whereas Djokovic can do both, but he's more of a volley player like Federer.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's maybe just but we saw the Italian yesterday, man. The contender who was at the final.
Yeah.
He was a 25-year-old kid who took it to the champ.
Man,
And Somesh,
wow.
we have seen this so many times in sports, where you see the beginning. Like remember when GSP took on Matt Hughes for the first time,
Matthews, yes.
and Matt Hughes got him in an armbar in the last second of the round.
Correct.
But he came onto the mic and said, he already is the future. Like GSP is the future. I know it.
Wow, and that goes, that actually translates perfectly when Sean O'Malley gave Chris Moutinho all the credit for a 10-day notice. Chris Moutinho had a full-time job in doing paint work. He got 10 days notice to come on a main card where Conor McGregor is fighting against a very, very dangerous opponent in Sean O'Malley. And man, did he bring it on. What
It
was
was-
that?
it
What
was-
that?
See, here's the thing. We debated yesterday on our show, The Ultimate Guide on Sony, and we were talking about, Somesh and I are, it goes without saying, we are the just bleed, die hard, old school maniac fighters.
Right.
And but that's the thing that we keep talking about, how the sport, we keep saying it's changing, but then again it's not. Guys like
Yeah.
Moutinho is one of the most demotivating and demoralizing things that can happen to a fighter is when you hit somebody with your hardest shots over and over again and nothing happens to them.
Right. And he just
That is
keeps
the
moving forward
scariest
like a
thing.
zombie.
Dude, that guy just walked him down.
Man, it
Very
was-
Iri Prohaska style also. Even Prohaska does that.
Man, it was 14 minutes and 33 seconds, 230 significant strikes, 177 shots on his face, and he kept moving forward. He didn't even drop down like completely. He was not out cold till Herb Dean stepped in and stopped it 27 seconds before the round.
Yeah,
Man,
and
you know what, we spoke about this. You know, we spoke
and you
about
do not
this.
agree to that.
Well, I did not completely agree to that. I would have liked for it to go to the decision, but when I saw it again, yes, Herb Dean was absolutely right. He needed to think about Moutinho's health moving forward, because
Exactly.
I feel this gentleman has a great future ahead. You know, look at someone like Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno took a beating from Figueiredo, but he
Correct.
kept moving forward. Man, these guys, as you rightly say, Chips, are made from a different cloth. And I would not want to even blink an eye. If Moutinho is fighting next, I'm going to see it for sure. Unfortunately, he's going to
That
be
kid
on
needs a raise immediately. I hope Dana did the right thing. He gave him that bonus. He
Yeah,
deserved it.
Absolutely.
That kid
yes.
came on 11 days notice with nothing to lose. And you know what? Props to Sugar Sean also. I mean, it's dangerous to take on an unknown contender.
Right.
It is.
Right.
Because it's a massive lose-lose for you. If
Absolutely.
you beat somebody on 10 days notice, wo to 10 din ke notice pe aata hai, you were supposed to beat him.
Correct.
If you lose, you're like, oh, you lost to
Yeah.
somebody who came in on 10 days notice. Even though that would make Somesh very happy.
Yeah.
But I think on Somesh's birthday, we're going to have highlight reels of Chito Vera versus Sugar Sean.
Well, by the time my birthday comes, I hope there's another defeat on the lines. No, but
I
honestly,
guarantee we're not getting Sugar Sean on the show. I hope he's listening to this.
well, the guy is definitely a tall, lanky bantamweight, but man, he's
huge, dude.
he's got some power in those hands, and
But-
he was tagging Chris with almost everything that he has.
Sumesh, but you don't notice one thing. One thing you notice about him. His biggest chink in the armor are those legs, man.
Yes,
The
yes.
smallest of leg kicks he's susceptible to. At
Yes.
bantamweight, you think Aldo will not whip those out?
Well, I think Aldo will just need 2 kicks to kind of shut this guy out.
And
But
especially
again,
with the new strategy of the calf kicks. I mean, out of nowhere, these things have come out. In the last 5 years,
yeah.
in the last 20 years of MMA, the amount of injuries that we saw due to leg kicks versus the last 1 year, we've seen so many injuries. I mean, in a
Absolutely.
span of 6 months, we've got 2 guys with shin breaks.
Shit, man. Like,
Weidman and now McGregor. I mean, I don't know what the hell is happening.
Well, in fact, I was talking to a medical professional, and he was telling me that.
You spoke to Dalby, right? Julian Dalby?
Well, I didn't exactly speak to him about this, but yeah, we've just had a word about it. But there was an Indian medical professional that we spoke to, and he was telling me that normally what's happening is that because there's overuse of the leg,
Right.
and when you kick someone on the shin, it's not the person who you're kicking, but it's also the person who is kicking is taking some amount of damage.
Exactly.
Because honestly, in the last 20-25 years, we've not seen so many shin breaks in mixed martial arts, and of late in the last 2 years there've just been so many of them. And when I say so many, even 3 or 4 are a lot.
Dude,
And
that's a
it's
huge number.
It's a shin break. It's probably one of the hardest bones out there, and it just cracks.
2 in 6
I mean-
months. 2 in a span of 3 months.
3 months.
Weidman just 2 months ago broke his shin, and now it's gone. And the funny thing is that when we watched K1, when we watched Glory Kickboxing, guys like Tyrone Spong, Jerome Le Banner, Gokhan Saki, Daniel Guita, Alistair Overeem, these guys used to whip leg kicks.
Man, they used to kick.
But
Yeah,
they
used to
check
kick
kicks,
like
but
there's no
I don't know how. I don't understand. Are the shins harder? Are they more conditioned? Maybe that's also a big thing, because real Muay Thai and kickboxers, those shins are so conditioned.
Right.
They're broken in multiple points. You break the nerve endings and they condition your shins so much more.
Right.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case.
But you never know. But see, someone like an Aldo, somebody who played football as a living and then transitioned into MMA. It's just the fact that you're doing regular work and you're also fighting. But what's happening right now? I think the fighters are only fighting, so maybe they're not really. You see, there's a difference between strength and power. There's a difference between raw power, and there are some guys out there. Someone like Prohaska. Prohaska is a guy who's from the jungle. He's from the mountains. He does, he cuts logs. He goes to the
even Jan Blachowicz, man.
Jan Blachowicz. He goes to the river. He actually fishes and all of that. So I think you just need to be a regular person and not just focus on strength training and
It's a very
boxing.
interesting. That's a very
And
interesting.
you know
thing,
you need to you need to walk around, you need to kind of play other sports. The body needs to do other things also, and that is a very important part of life. So it just cannot be that, yes, I am a MMA fighter and I'm only going to be training in MMA and fighting. I don't
And
think that's the best way to go.
And the funny thing is that we move on to our next fight where we transition into the women's division where Irene Aldana, put on a fucking clinic, man. I mean, firstly, the weight advantage or disadvantage, I'm not going to speculate until we get the proper reports from the UFC. But say what you want, man. That chick has become something else. I'm talking like her hands are on the same level as Amanda Nunes.
Well, I couldn't disagree on this. However, what I really feel is Irene Aldana comes from the same camp as Brandon Moreno, and there is something about,
we love Brandon Moreno on the show.
As they say, कि संगत का असर अलग होता है. So when you're hanging with champions, you automatically start behaving like a champion. Yana Kunitskaya from the American top team obviously has, Thiago Santos, who's always there in a corner. Even she's surrounded by champions, but her close group is very different. She only has Santos, her boxing coach, and her wrestling coach. But what happens down at Mexico? Everybody trains together. It's the men, it's the women, it's the champions, the amateurs. True. They all just hang together. And I just felt Aldana was so calm, so composed.
It's also that camp. That camp.
Seriously, yes.
We saw footage in the last Embedded before the UFC Embedded show where they they show the stories and lives of the fighters.
Right.
10 days leading up to fight week, and we saw Davison Figueiredo and Moreno's Brandon Moreno's special.
Yeah.
And we look at fighters and their fancy gyms and this that, and this kid was training in a garage. Well, with cylinders of gasoline, LPG cylinders to pour for weights, and I mean, is that old story? You train humble and train in in a different way. It's even Floyd Mayweather said that. Like, my gym changed after years, because
correct,
when he started making his money, etc. But he still trains in that raw setting.
Well, in fact, speaking of that, the current lightweight champion, Charles Oliveira, trains in the exact same manner. He in fact goes to his parents' house in the jungles. He takes his 15 guys with him and he trains in his house. And he said, this is what I do. This is how I do it. And honestly, I feel if the formula is working, why change it? Why get into those AC gyms? Why make it fancy? Why have the most expensive equipment when running up the hills or picking up cylinders is working for you? Why change the formula?
True. I mean, but the argument can be made for the other side also, because, it depends also on the fighter. Guys like Jones, etc., Jones, GSP, they trained in great gyms. They came from the simple gyms, but then guys like Greg Jackson and AKA and these guys also are like, the kind of people they have there.
Correct.
Where iron sharpens iron, like literally, you got guys like Khabib, Luke Rockhold, Daniel Cormier, Islam Makhachev, all in one team. So when you go to a gym like that, you're going to become amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, but this is a subject that we can just talk about. But speaking of, so tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'll tell you what you want, what you really. I heard this song, Spice Girls song, and I'm sorry, it's not coming out well today. But Tai Tuivasa, man, what a guy! Dude.
I have never seen in the history of MMA or in my viewership a heavyweight guy who's like 260 pounds coming on a Spice Girls song. And
never.
The 20,000 fans have just erupted.
Dude, people were singing along. They were singing along, and all the women in the audience were just jumping up and down. The guys, the girls, everybody's having a great time. It became a party atmosphere. And people are like, I'm like, these are the heavyweights. They're going to take their heads off in any minute now. And he's jumping around to Spice Girls. What the fuck is happening?
Well, but jumping around to Spice Girls did not stop Tai Tuivasa from actually showing off his skills, where he was actually hurt.
He looks so good, so fit now.
in the first 45 seconds, 50 seconds of the fight, he was hurt. He was actually on wobbly legs. And
Yes.
when that left hook came in, oh my God, Greg Hardy was absolutely stiff. He was knocked out cold. It just took 1
He
minute,
crumbled.
7 seconds. It took 67 seconds. In fact, I felt his entry was longer than 67 seconds.
Correct. Yeah, he took a lot longer. He wanted to play that song out fully. He wanted to play that song. I know. Look, man, if I had to walk out, I would do the same. I would choose my song and I'm like, मैं तो slow ही चलेगा. मैं slow चलेगा.
Man, but deserving of the performance of
Absolutely.
the night bonus.
And fun, man, and fun. And I like the attitude. You remember we were watching this fight together and I was saying there's just something in his energy. Greg Hardy was like, I'm mean and I'm, Greg Hardy is a mean guy. He's tough as hell. But the thing is that it's, just Ty came out with like that look in his eye. He was smiling. He was energetic. It was the same thing when Anthony Smith walked out.
Yes.
He was looking
he was
happy.
So happy. He was so happy.
It's like they know they've changed something. And I'm glad that Ty did because he was on a losing streak. And now he's finally got a W in that win, Colin. But quickly moving on, man.
Well, Tai Tuivasa actually was on a 2-fight winning streak. This is his 3rd fight in a row.
Really? I'm thinking about my facts wrong. But you're Sumesh Kamra is the historian and fact checker.
So, what the good part about Tai Tuivasa is that he's such an entertaining guy. When he entered the UFC, he had 3 wins. Then he had 3 losses. And now he's on 3 wins again. So, will history repeat himself?
Dude, even nobody is ever going to cut him, man. I mean, firstly, that division is thin already.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't want to cut heavyweights.
Correct.
Don't ever cut heavyweights.
Correct. But Chips, you made a very valid point saying that Tai Tuivasa has actually lost weight. Did you also notice that the fact that his legs, his leg kicks were coming way quicker? He was so swift on his feet.
Dude, he was moving active. Like a middleweight.
Exactly, he was moving so well, and I think it just correlates to the fact that he is kind of lean down. He's looking smaller. He's looking sharper. But his power, oh man,
exactly,
unbeatable.
And that's what we talked about. That's power that you can't teach. You either have it or you don't.
Yes.
Francis Ngannou can hit the wind around you, and the wind will come and hit you, and that'll knock you down.
Exactly, and honestly, the weight category doesn't, make a difference.
It doesn't, man. Robbie Lawler is at 170. Man, he can knock out a heavyweight. He wants to.
Absolutely. Someone like an Anthony Rumble Johnson,
he can knock out a truck.
He can actually do anything from that middleweight category, which is 185 pounds, all the way up to heavyweight.
Can you imagine at heavyweight Francis versus Anthony?
Man, that would be a showdown. I wish that would have taken place. I wish he was still there in the UFC.
Dude, he's fighting again. You never know. You never know Dana. Dana might have a change of heart, saying, "Okay, chala aaja." Because now DC is done. DC has moved on to broadcasting full time.
Right.
He's not fighting anymore. And so Anthony's favorite fights are anybody who won't wrestle with him.
Correct.
So guys like Derek Lewis, guys like Francis Ngannou, all fun guys who just stand and bang.
That's crazy. But speaking about fun, let's move on to the next fight in the welterweight division between Gilbert Burns and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which was the only fight on the fight card which went the decision. All the other 5 were knockouts or TKO, which is technical knockout. So Gilbert Burns, Stephen Thompson was obviously the fight to make because Stephen Thompson, ranked 4, had only not faced Gilbert Burns. He had faced all the other ranked opponents. Gilbert Burns was the only one that he had not faced. And man, did he bring on a good show, or was it a little slacky from the Karate Kid?
Dude, no, man. I mean, look, man, Wonderboy is 38 years old. He's an amazing fighter. He's always got the skills to back it up, and he's elusive as hell. He moved really well yesterday. And the thing is that, look, a lot of karate point fighters that transition to MMA and are still keeping their natural stance and their natural original skill set. Karate guys were never knockout artists. You remember what happened to Machida? Yeah. The minute he started forcing the knockouts is when he started taking damage and started getting beat.
Correct. He used to get caught.
Correct. He started getting caught. I mean, look at what happened. First fight with Shogun, he tried to outpoint, but the Muay Thai guys just come after you. Oh, and Shogun hua.
And they break your legs.
And they will break. Like, look at what happened to Shogun. Shogun used to kick so hard. Yeah. He never gave a shit whether his leg broke or not.
Well, the
And they
fact
never
that he
broke.
never gave a shit
I
is the
think-
fact the reason why his leg never broke.
Dude, I think it's the conditioning of the shins. But that's a conversation for another day. But moving forward, it's Wonderboy gave it his best, but you saw the holes in his game. His grappling is I think it's the next generation that's come now.
Correct.
And people are going to know, like, okay, you know what? You can't catch Wonderboy striking. You're not going to catch him on the feet. He's too quick. He's too fast. So they're going to take him down. What do you think the champ will do to him, man? Kamaru will take him down and
Kamaru
Woodley beat him up on the ground.
Yeah, correct. Woodley definitely beat him on the ground. That was, like in 2017. So the time was very different. However, I felt, yes, Wonderboy is in the top 5. He was being treated as a gatekeeper to the division, someone who wanted to climb up and get to the champion.
True.
Things changed when he beat Luque and Jeff Neal back to back.
True.
And suddenly people felt, wow, does this guy still have it in him? The UFC obviously said, yes, the only guy which he's not faced is Gilbert Burns. Both of them have fought for the welterweight strap at some point of time in their life. I think it only made sense. And Gilbert Burns at age 34 showed why he's a real deal. And man, his grappling was too good. His grappling was out of the world.
He was strong. His energy was on. His speed was on point. His cardio was on the money. He looked reinvigorated. He looked like he's not lost a step at all. The champ beat him soundly, knocked him out. But the thing is that he didn't dwell on it. He's gone back and made the differences. He made the changes.
Right.
His head is moving better. He's cutting angles. He's moving laterally. He's looking good. And, this was a very important fight for Wonderboy. He had to win this to cement his position.
Absolutely.
And the fact that, he can't beat, he's not able to get past, a jiu-jitsu grappler in Burns. What is he going to do with Colby Covington?
Oh man,
Colby is, say what you want about the guy. The guy is a marauder.
Absolutely.
He will beat the living hell out of you.
Man, overall, it was a very good fight. However, I felt the corner and the camp of Gilbert Burns, which obviously has a legendary Henry Hooft out there, has analyzed Wonderboy's game so well, because if you see versus Jeff Neal and Luque, they were bringing the fight on to Wonderboy Thompson, and Wonderboy was only countering.
Exactly. He's a counter striker.
Absolutely. Like in this particular fight, to be honest, Gilbert Burns did not bring the heat to him. That's why we saw only 59 strikes over 15 minutes by Wonderboy, which is actually a shocker. But Gilbert Burns has almost 101 strikes.
A lot of those were against the cage and on
the ground also,
And on the ground. And Gilbert had a great strategy. He was never going to chase Wonderboy. He was going to change. He was going to look to change levels and corner him. And the minute he changed levels and got into the grappling, we saw what happened. Exactly. Wonderboy got stymied. He was stifled. And, sadly, that's what happened. But Somesh, Mr. Kamra, before we even head to the main event, which I'm going to include with our subsequent conversation, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Because you're listening to The Fighting Goat, episode 20 with the superhuman Kamra and myself, Mystic Chips, only on IVMPodcast.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Would like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred, Ciet, and Global Victoria. Thank you so much for making this possible. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by the hilarious and extremely charming illusionist and therapist Suhani Shah. They talk about different aspects of magic like sleight of hand, mind reading, mentalism, and more. The Habit Coach completed 500 episodes, 500, and Ashton has a special message for us on the occasion. Do check that out. We had Lekini Desai, founder of the India Ethnic Company, talk to Varun Digirala about their story and the Hatke marketing idea that made them popular. On Naan Curry, Sadaf and Archit celebrated World Chocolate Day. They took us through the origins, history, economics of chocolate, and shared their memories. On Tere Mere Raste, Keshu Chaturvedi shares an interesting story from Leh. Check out an updated version of the Traveling Professor's Diary. It's now rechristened as Smarter with Sid. Same old brain filled with news stories and insights. This time, listening to know why you should keep things simple. And finally, check out Global Victoria Tech Talks. This one is in partnership with Global Victoria, the trade arm of the Government of Victoria in Australia. The edtech and gaming industries are booming in Victoria, Australia, and this series is meant to showcase that. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 20 of The Fighting Goat. where
Yes, sir.
me, Somesh Superhuman Kamra, and Arjun, aka Mystic Chips,
Dude, the
Chipalkatti.
mystic ball broke yesterday. I'm sad to say I lost my bets.
Well, that's
But
fine.
you know what?
It's okay.
Fluke. I almost we've stopped competing because Somesh told me private that he feels bad about it.
Well, now it's public.
That's public now. No, but man, it was without any further ado, let's move on to the most anticipated fight of 2021 so far. What happened? I can't get my head around it yet, because I think our next topic we're going to talk about is when trash talk goes wrong, or when over excessive trash talk.
Yeah.
What happens when that happens. And Conor has always been a very clever talker. He's been clever. He's had the right comebacks.
Right.
But the press conference leading up to this fight it looked like an old man repeating the same shit.
See, the good part about Conor is that you never know. See, he's the kind of guy who attracts showmanship. He's the kind of guy who always brings on the entertainment. It's a part of him. He cannot pull off something which is not him. And he generally, as a human, is a very entertaining, loud character. So even when he's nice, he says, "Oh, I'm going to donate $500,000 to your charity. Oh, I'm going to do. The hot sauce is amazing."
True.
So he's not like a Dustin Poirier who will sit there and say, "Yeah, I have trained hard." He's not that guy. There is always this anticipation that something is going to happen. There is something
the air
that
is
going to
thick
happen.
when he's always around. The air around him
The
is
air
thick.
is thick. It's very tense. So even versus Diaz, when Diaz just walked off, he took the monster can and he threw it at Diaz.
Dude, they started throwing bottles at one another.
Exactly.
And it was going to be a street fight. It
It
literally
was.
was.
It was.
And Diaz is walking with his crew, man. He's always with his crew.
With Gilbert
Jake
Melendez
Shields and Melendez and Nick Diaz and all these guys are around, man.
So typically what happens is that whether he wins or whether he loses, there's always that excitement and what just happened kind of feeling.
But it's
happened when he knocked out Aldo. It happened when he knocked out Eddie Alvarez. So, and people are like,
dude, that was amazing.
What just happened? So in this case, I felt, we in India are very, very lucky because, the UFC comes on Sony 10-1 and 10-3 and sometimes on 10-2. So we don't have to pay a bomb for it. But I just felt, $60 for this card would be very, very disappointing because both these fighters in the trilogy, Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, lightweight division, were looking at their peak. I think this would have been both of them would have ever put on till at the end of round one.
Yes.
His shin bone cracked from the bottom and he had to collapse.
Yeah, his lower tibia broke.
Man, it was so horrific. I just think it deprived the entire nation, it deprived the entire world of a fantastic contest. Sadly, this is where I think the trilogy ends and Dustin Poirier moves on technically as a winner. However, I thought the contest was very close, but Dustin Poirier moves on. It
was a fight, man. It was the start of a fight.
It
was the start of a fight. Whether Conor was hurt or not, he was defending himself from the bottom.
Absolutely.
It's not like he was getting knocked out or bludgeoned to death. He was bleeding, yes, but it's a fight. It happens in a rough fight.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Conor you saw him, his eyes were clear. He was not hurt. I mean, of course, he was in tremendous pain and stuff, but that's how tough he is. He's like, whatever, I'll still trash talk you. And this is, this is where the funny thing comes to. I've been reading the news since in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
What has happened to the world of fighting, man? I mean, okay. It's not nice to hear somebody saying they want to kill you and your wife in their sleep. But when Conor said that to...
But so
to
what?
Dustin,
I mean, so what?
Tyson said, I'm going to kill you and eat your children. Mayer said, I want Brock Lesnar to be the first death in the cage.
Yeah.
Cormier said he spit on Jones and Jones said, if you do that, I'll kill you. This is normal in the fight game. It's not, we're not playing with puppies and going up the hill,
Yeah.
This is a volatile and hardcore sport.
Right. But, Chips, what happens is that sometimes there's genuine hate and
That's true.
sometimes there is more of flamboyance hate where you show you kind of hate the person.
Right.
But honestly, with Connor, once he switches his mind and he knows he doesn't like this person or he needs to prove a point, man, he's gonna go after you. And it's
he was
not just after you. Even with Khabib, he went after his father.
Man.
He went.
Dude, he went. Did you see that? It's wrong to laugh at this, but when it happened, it was hilarious because the timing was perfect. But it's wrong. Khabib got married and he put a picture up of his wife in the traditional abaya and stuff, and
Correct.
It was a wedding abaya, and it was white in color. And Connor said, "Your wife is a towel." I mean, like, what do you say to a guy like this, man? There are no boundaries. Why would you do that to a killer? I mean, you know who Khabib Nurmagomedov is, right? Like,
But you
this
know
guy
what?
stomps people.
See, at that level of any sport, be it cricket, be it football, be it MMA, everybody is skilled. Everybody has it in them. The difference is in the top 450 grams, which is your mind. It starts and it ends there. And Connor's strategy
450
is,
grams.
Yeah,
The mind.
I think the brain is 450 grams.
Well, Anthony Rumble Johnson's head is 170 pounds itself. Like, you take it out of his body, it's 170 pounds, and the rest is now 250 pounds. So I was like, 450 grams? Nahi, yaar. Itna kam to nahi hoga. But sorry, continue, man. What are you saying?
So I personally believe one part of his game plan is always psychological, and he knows that when he's been a nice guy, it's not worked for him. I personally feel
He's never been a nice guy.
Well, versus Dustin Poirier in the last
That's the only
fight,
time he tried it.
So,
He's out of character.
I think he was faking it, or maybe
I think his lawyer told him to do it too, because he was leading up with a bunch of, Dolly, bus mein feka, got busted a couple of times, broke a fan's cell phone, assaulted an old guy in a bar for not drinking his whiskey. He's been doing some stupid shit. So his lawyer probably told him, saying, listen, cool it. Start being nice now.
Yeah.
That didn't work for him, man.
Well, it didn't work at all. Or see, maybe he was just in a very happy space. He sold his stake in Proper 12 and he made $600 million. Maybe he was just in a happy space.
Dude, he was in a happy space. And obviously, and also, all the arrests make a big difference, because the same thing happened to Jones. Jones was a crazy guy. He went, he was arrested a bunch of times for whatever his possession, hit and run cases, everything. And then, the UFC threatened to cut him a bunch of times. Jones is the only athlete in the history of sports to have Nike, Adidas, and Reebok drop him.
Right.
And I was like, that the only sportsman. And it's after that he just changed his persona. We loved Jones as the heel man. Remember when Jones was the evil guy, the bad guy?
And he was winning.
And he was devastating people.
Yeah.
He was winning with spinning elbows and shit.
Yeah.
And then, the switch happened. Only against Cormier, he proved, that was the real rivalry. That's what you bring up now when you were talking about, like, the heated, like the manufactured bullshit versus the real hate.
Yes. I was just talking about that.
Chuck Liddell hated Tito Ortiz.
Correct.
Tito Ortiz hated Ken Shamrock and vice versa. Anderson Silva hated Chael Sonnen. But Chael Sonnen never hated it. It was business for him.
Yeah.
It was pure business and genius in marketing. Frank Mir and Brock Lesnar hated each other.
Yeah.
That is real.
But tell me one thing, Chips. Sir, the conversation comes down to what happens when trash talk goes wrong. In fact, there have been so many times where, like my favorite athlete, Sugar Sean O'Malley, after losing, still says he has not lost, Well,
Chito Vera and the UFC's records will have something to say about it. But, we talk about that also. No? Sometimes when fighters psych themselves up to a point where they say, whether they're beaten or not, they say, I'm unbeaten. Like, Chael Sonnen used to do that shit. Like, Chael Sonnen saying, I never lost.
Yeah.
I used to be like, in what universe do I control a man for 24 and a half minutes and then he wraps his legs around me and we call it a night? I mean, he says shit like that. I mean, and Anderson Silva submitted him. Chael tapped.
Yeah, it was over,
It was over. And I agree, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But that is what it is. But it's sometimes fighters do that, they just psych themselves. But it's very few fighters talk after the fight. And what we saw yesterday was a livid Conor McGregor. He was with his fucking leg broken. He was yelling out to Herb Dean saying, "It's a doctor stoppage, not a TKO."
Yeah. I don't
remember seeing that.
I don't know how the rules kind of work, because I feel if it's a doctor stoppage, technically I thought it was a no contest, but when the leg breaks, obviously it is a TKO, because I just read up on that.
But come on, I mean, it's you're not going to call it a TKO, really. I mean, it's not like,
well, not really.
You're
Not
not.
really.
I mean,
But when Anderson Silva broke his leg, it was a TKO. When Chris Weidman broke his leg, it was a TKO.
Okay, I guess
So
that's the rule.
I guess that's the way it moves. However, he's the only man who broke his shin who was still there waiting for the interview, and he was still yelling at Dustin Poirier. Do you think this rivalry has ended, or do you think for the first time in history we will have a fourth fight, and then maybe a fifth fight if things move on?
I honestly, it all depends on where Dustin Poirier is. If he wins, if he faces Oliveira for the belt and becomes champion, there's no chance that's happening.
It's not going to happen, right?
It's not, because then he would have moved on. He'd be like, "Screw you," like bus.
Correct.
Go win a couple and then come talk to me types.
Correct.
But I think that's what Conor needs. Conor needs to win somewhere. He needs a win. He hasn't won since a long time, man.
Well,
he
fought
fought
back-to-back
Cowboy.
losses,
He fought Cowboy in 2019.
2020.
Jan 2020. I remember that was the fight we came back to the studio for.
Exactly. Yeah. So Jan 2020, he fought Cowboy. But see, Cowboy was obviously not in his prime. It was more, I don't know, must have been a warm-up or a setup fight for Conor,
That's the thing. Maybe he needs a gimme fight. Yeah, he needs a low-ranked opponent.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
he needs it.
I completely agree with you.
Sometimes it's like in the NFL and in NBA, when a team is getting ready for the season, what they do is that to shake off the cobwebs and to get prepared, they go take on the professional team will take on some Division B, Division C slack college team.
Right.
And beat them senseless. They'll beat the living shit out of them, score 40-0.
Correct.
But that's a booster. It's a morale booster.
So
Conor
it's like
needs
India
a win.
So it's like India facing Kenya before going to England.
This is a touchy subject. India facing anybody. India, the problem is, I love our team, man. We beat the biggest giants and then we somehow managed to lose to Bangladesh sometimes. How is this possible? We beat Pakistan, we beat England, we beat Australia, beat South Africa, Bangladesh. beat everybody, lost to Holland. I was like, what?
Listen, that's what I'm saying. At that level, it doesn't come. It's all about mindset. It's all about mindset.
Exactly.
And that's where I feel Conor McGregor is such a crucial athlete for the UFC, because he brings that trash talk. He breaks mindsets.
Yes.
For the first time ever, I thought Dustin Poirier, who was actually baffled and ruffled even post a fight, he was still talking. He was still doing it.
He was mimicking him. He was so upset. But you can't blame him, man. Connor's saying your wife slid into my DMs and he's calling her a HOE and whatnot, man.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be pissed? The cops had to drag Poirier out.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. I feel Conor McGregor has still won this fight psychologically.
But he's living in Poirier's head rent-free.
Exactly. And I felt that the performance for the first time, I felt Conor was so good in round 1 and he could have taken the momentum in round 2 also, but
I think for honestly, we saw Conor. Conor was looking good. The kicks were coming out. He was light on his feet.
Yeah.
But maybe he's gotten too light because you saw the size difference.
Yeah.
He was looking like a featherweight again.
Yeah.
He was really looking like a featherweight. Maybe he needs to get back some muscle and some power behind those shots as well.
Right.
And he was, Conor is always the one to play the mind games and get the other guy upset.
Right.
But for once, we saw a very angry Conor also.
Yes.
That's very rare.
Yes.
Very, very rare that you see an angry fighter.
Yeah. But, see, the thing is that he's coming off that good guy image and he lost to Dustin Poirier. So maybe he's just getting himself back. And because I have come back into my own element of so long,
True.
I just want to let it all out. It's probably just that pent up badness inside badass, which is there inside, which just needs to come out, and which we saw in both the fighters even after the contest had ended. Both of them were very, very angry, but yeah, it gets on to the other fighters who got onto the bandwagon, like Ronda Rousey supported Conor. Khabib just went off and said, that good guys will win. And
I know, good versus evil, good triumphs against evil.
Absolutely.
And I'm just like,
Sugar Sean O'Malley posted a photo of him going off the stretcher and Conor going, and he is saying, that I think Conor is imitating me instead of the other way around.
Yeah, so this is what I hate the shit that these guys do, man.
People, it's become a divide and rule thing where, either you're team Poirier or you're team Conor.
The trash talking is regardless though. It's there. The trash continues to happen. The fight is over. The guy broke his leg. Just give it a break. Say what you want, but give it a break.
As in give it a break, as in...
No, please, I'm not Mr. Sudhi Sajde. There's no puns happening.
Paging Kit Kat.
Yeah, we're ready, man. I may not have the biggest sweet tooth, but Mr. Kamara eats sweets, so no problem. But, on that note, it's in conclusion, we say, trash talk is good or bad, but we are no one to judge. It happens in every sport. Right. It happens in every avenue. Trash talk is a part, and post-trash talk, you'll never know if it's good or bad unless you try it.
Absolutely. So, that
being said, man,
the trash talk is so good. In fact, I feel it's healthy for the sport. If you have a very kind of plateaued sport, it's not going to attract people. And these guys are genuinely like this. They genuinely don't like each other. And I just feel it's healthy. At the end of it, it all gets settled. The dust settled down. People go back home. They kind of tweet to each other saying, "Listen, I'm sorry," and I didn't mean it and stuff like that. But for that moment to hype the fight and to get the gate sales and the promotions,
yes,
I think it's very much needed.
It's very valid.
However, please don't fake it. If you do not master the trash talk, don't do it. Be a good guy. Be yourself. At the end of the day, sports is all about respecting each other and just being yourself. Let your skills do the talking.
Exactly. Despite trash talk, respect is always part of the MO with mixed martial arts. So, you touch gloves, you bow to each other. It's always been around. And that being said, man, we've got a great new card coming back. We've got Islam Makhachev versus Moises, but we're going to talk about that in our last segment. We're going to take a quick commercial break. You've been listening to The Fighting Goat, episode 20, with Mystic Chips and the Superhuman Kamra. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Do you know Tamil? Tamil Puriyuma? Do your children enjoy great stories that inculcate good values? Hi, I am Ravi Shankar Balachandran and I host the Storytime Tamil podcast. I am excited to share a short story with great moral values every day. Listen to Storytime Tamil on the IVM podcast app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 20 and the final segment of The Fighting Goat, where we speak on the next event, which is on the 18th of July. And
that card has Islam.
I don't know that there are undercards, there are cards, and there are some fight nights. So the fight night has, in the lightweight division, Islam Makhachev versus Thiago Moises as the main event.
Wow.
However, the co-main event is in the women's bantamweight division, where we see the return of Miesha Tate.
Yes, Cupcake is back.
Cupcake is back after a break of 5 years, 2 children, versus Marion Renaud.
My God, that's a tough fight, man.
That's a damn good fight.
That is a damn good fight.
And also, we have one of our favorite fighters on the card in the lightweight division.
Why is Sean O'Malley fighting again?
It is Jeremy Stevens. That
Little Heathen, baby.
Little Heathen is back. He's taking on Gamrot. I don't know too much about Gamrot. Sorry about that. But Jeremy Stevens is
he's
back.
Another guy who needs a win, man. Jeremy Stevens needs a W.
Needs he needs it.
Really needs a win.
And he's a guy who's put on a show for all the fans. He goes out there. Years. He bangs. So this segment in this little 3 fights in the lightweight division.
Somesh. We gotta quickly predict, because we got to get going. Who's going to do what?
Well, let's not waste any time. Lightweight division, Jeremy Stevens versus Mateusz Gamrot. Mystic Chips. Your
Dude,
pick.
I'm always on Team Stevens, man.
Man.
I love Jeremy. I don't
love
care
him.
win, lose or draw. I don't even care anymore. I love him. He'll come to take your head off.
Absolutely.
And he will not stop until he does that.
Man, I love this guy too. So Team Chips, Team Kamra, both on the bandwagon of Jeremy Stevens. The co-main event, the women's bantamweight division, 135 pounds, the return of Misha Tate versus Marion Renaud.
Oh man, I will never forget that moment when Misha Tate sunk in that choke on Holly Holm. She was losing that fight, and that was a Hail Mary pass that she threw, literally.
Man.
She sunk in that choke and won the belt, and that was an iconic moment. It was a very well-deserved. Misha's been around for so many years, from Invicta to Strikeforce, and I want her to see her come back and make her win. I think she's going to do it.
Yeah, you're going for Misha Tate, and
Yes,
this
sir.
time too, Somesh Superhuman Kamra is on the same bandwagon as Mystic Chips. I'm going to go for Misha Tate because, she's a great fighter. She's a former champion. She knows what she's doing. She's taken 5 years off, but that doesn't take fighting out of the DNA. Renaud, on the other hand, I think is slightly older. She's about 42, 43 years old now.
Exactly.
And I'm beginning to feel she will not get past Misha Tate. If she does, it's going to be...
Yeah,
I feel it's a 7:3 ratio. Misha Tate is going to take this
Misha's
one.
going to take it, yeah.
Man, you know what? Lightweight
Main event
division,
time.
straight to the topic. Islam Makhachev, who is from the Dagestani camp of Khabib, versus Thiago Moises.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's Islam Makhachev has been labeled as the protege of Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Absolutely.
And the kind of grappling that these guys bring to the table is just
It's insane.
It's insane. It's sickeningly good. Like there's nothing you can do about it good.
Right.
You can just hope that he kind of finishes it, because you don't want to take. I remember Barboza's face, and Somesh, you were there live. You want to see Barboza is one of the toughest SOBs in the business, but you can see somebody's soul leaving their body.
Correct.
After 2 rounds with these guys.
After 2 rounds with Khabib, he was absolutely
And
done.
nobody wanted to face Islam Makhachev. Everybody's been ducking this guy. And he is a force in the lightweight division. I'm going with Islam, man. I'm not going to second guess him.
Wow. So Islam Makhachev is one of the few fighters who is having an issue finding opponents in the UFC. And, there are times where people just want to get into the UFC, but the talent pool is so deep that it's like, whoever I face, even in the top 20, it becomes an issue. But Islam Makhachev is one of those guys that's having an issue finding opponents because people don't want to fight him. He's on a 9-fight winning streak. The last he fought was versus Drew Dauber. That was a great fight where I think he ended it via choke. But however, he's facing absolutely motivated Thiago Moises on a 3-fight winning streak.
And Thiago is a phenom on the ground himself.
And exactly.
What if he submits him, dude? That'll be fun,
So are you changing a prediction?
No. I'm being very practical here, boss. I can't lose 2 in a row. It's going to be Islam Makhachev.
Well, I'm going with the same pick. So Team Chips and Team Kamra are absolutely in the same boat.
Yes,
We're going for Jeremy Stevens in the lightweight division, Misha Tate, women's bantamweight, and Islam Makhachev for the main event in the lightweight division. If you want to win some exciting prizes and some fighting goat magnets, please log on to any social media platform, tag us, tell us what you think, who is going to win, and 5 random predictions are going to win the Fighting Goat fridge magnets. So what are you waiting for?
Absolutely. Seriously, what are you guys waiting for? Come tag us, have a discussion with us. We're going to host an AMA soon, which is going to be fun for you guys because you're going to ask us literally anything. Like last time I went to an AMA, I completely misused it because I was like, "Tune to anything bola." That being said, ask us anything literally on our social media handles. You can contact me on Twitter. I'm at Mystic Chipal, and on Instagram at Arjun_Chipalkatti. Somesh.
Well, you can contact me on somesh.kamra on Instagram and on somesh_kamra on Twitter. IVM Podcast, you can contact them or us on all platforms. It's IVM Podcast on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So what are you waiting for? Just tag us, hashtag us, make your predictions, and win some damn exciting Fighting Goat fridge magnets.
Exactly. So hurry up. Don't miss out on this offer. 5 of you have a chance to win something great. But that being said, thank you so much, Somesh. And And we've had a great conversation. We've discussed some very important things, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please log in to ivmpodcast.com for more content and keep listening to more of The Fighting Goat. Also, congratulate us on our social media because we hit 20 shows, baby. Woo-hoo. And that is just the beginning. Stay tuned for much, much more of The Fighting Goats. This is your host, Mystic Chips, and your other host, Somesh Kamra, saying ciao and sayonara.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Arshit. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे.
Only on the Nankali podcast every Wednesday. सिर्फ IVM podcast ऐप या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, host of the Empowering Series podcast on the IVM network. I happen to be a peak performance coach and leadership coach by profession, and I'm here to share with you productivity tools, life-altering techniques, and real-life hacks to help you achieve your maximum potential in everything you do, your relationships, professions, careers. So tune in every Monday to unleash your inner power. Be safe, be well, be empowered.